Welcome to the Australian Business Executive Podcast, where we speak with Australia's most influential industry professionals on the business and economic development issues taking place across the country. You can stay up to date with all our content, including our magazines, podcasts and videos by visiting www.theabe.com.au and clicking on subscribe.
Today's guest is Michele Hemmings, licensee and proprietor of Exclusively Strata. Michele started Exclusively Strata in 2005 after 20 years as a senior academic of corporate accounting at Charles Sturt University. Since founding Exclusively Strata, the company has grown to be the most notable specialist in the Wagga Wagga and County New South Wales region, servicing some of the largest and most prestigious complexes under strata management. She's passionate about the region, and her responsiveness has led to a reputation of honesty and reliability while being flexible enough to respond to issues outside of normal business hours. She's also advanced to practicing Strata Community Manager status of the New South Wales Strata Community Australia Accreditation Ladder. Michele, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Stuart, thank you very much for having me.
You've had a bit of an interesting journey. Can you explain how you went from being an academic to a business owner in the strata industry?
Yes, as you said, I've been working as an academic at Charles Sturt University for several years, 20 in fact, and I thought academia was actually going to be my career for life. However, children have a way of changing one's perspective, and the birth of my second child in 2003 saw me attend the 2003 AGM meeting of a body corporate where my husband and I own a villa. So off I went to this meeting. I was on maternity leave and free to attend meetings during business hours, of course. Now, I didn't know what to expect at these sorts of meetings because I hadn't ever been at an AGM like that before. So I innocently listened, and to my surprise, when the motion came for appointment or reappointment of the strata management firm who was hosting the meeting, one of the owners put up his hand and said, "I think we can do better than this. Let's self-manage." So there was a bit of a shock horror going around the room, as you can imagine, and the manager left the room. I was invited to leave the room, and he volunteered to take on the chair role, which I guess is one of the easiest, as you probably know, and there was an awkward silence. I thought, oops, I better nominate something here. I have a background in accounting. I should be able to help out. So I said, all right, I'll take on the treasurer's role. And, being a qualified accountant, I shouldn't make too much mess of that. And funnily enough, it remained quiet. No one else was putting up their hands. So I said, oh, all right, I'll do the secretarial role. That'll save that interchange between three parties. So I could do both. Anyway, 2 months into the job, I was really enjoying it. I guess being on maternity leave, it also enabled me to continue using my academic brain. And I decided to enrol in the Certificate 4 course of Strata Management through OTEN of TAFE. OTEN is an acronym. It stands for Open Tertiary Education Network. So because I'm in Wagga Wagga and the TAFE college here didn't actually offer that course, I could do it by distance education. So it was fabulous, especially when you had a young baby on your knee. So, I felt it important to do the studies even though I was just on maternity leave and going to manage this one complex. I never anticipated what was ahead of me. I thought the necessary study that I could get from this course would be appropriate as a fiduciary duty that I was going to hold, looking after the monies of other people. So in 2004, I studied 13 subjects to gain the relevant qualifications, finished exams, assignments and all those sorts of things. Applied for the strata management licence. You get police checks and all that sort of thing. Lodged a business name, and by January 2005, I was a proprietor of Exclusively Strata, a brand new business, no income. Yeah, it was quite a change from a secure, tenured position, senior lecturer of accounting, to zero. But exciting times were ahead.
And has your experience as an academic helped you in any way in your business?
I'd have to say it did, and still does. Being an academic and course coordinator, as I was of the largest course at the university, that was a Bachelor of Business Accountancy degree, I have many skills that I can bring to business. And in strata management particularly, we have to wear three different types of hats. The first is a logistics manager. So we look after contractors for repairs and maintenance to the common property and provision of utilities, water, electricity. So you have to get people on site when they need them, as and when the owners want them. Second hat I wear is the finance manager. And of course that was simple for me because I was an accountant. Looking after the funds and levies that owners pay in towards these costs, paying all the bills, mowing contractors, electricity, water, repairs, then setting budgets for the levies for the next year, and also preparing reports, the financial reports, so owners really understand what their monies are going toward. And that's my forte in preparing reports so people can read them. There's so many people out there who do not understand what a profit and loss statement is, and I prepare it in a way that they can understand. The third hat we wear, which comes and is really assisted by my academic background, was the meeting coordinator. So you have to prepare your AGM papers, the motions, arrange your venue, chair the meeting, minute the meeting, handle people at the meeting, like I would if I was in a lecture or in a tutorial, and then, of course, wrap up with the preparation of final levy notices for the new year. So, yes, it's a different role, but there's a lot of overlap.
So how does Exclusively Strata differ from other service providers in the area?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when I went into the business, I wasn't sure that I was going to be any different, but I certainly wanted to be better. And I would say that it's rare to find a certified practicing accountant operating a strata management firm. And perhaps I'm the only one in the southern regions of New South Wales, I believe. And those with that sort of professional credential. As I explained before, you only needed a Certificate 4 from TAFE to be a strata licensee, and you can work as a strata assistant with even shorter studies, like a weekend or a 6-week course. So to have, not only one degree, 4, it's pretty rare for someone to step out of academic and business world to go into strata management. But I can see that as the future. The profession is getting more and more professional, and I believe that the qualifications that I had and all that academic experience was known or seen by the CEO of Strata Community Australia, the New South Wales Board, because he came up to me at one of the AGMs that I attended and invited me to sit on the working committee of the New South Wales Board. So that was an honour, and you won't have that sort of top-level involvement with a regional strata manager. So at that board committee, I really relish what I do because I contribute to the writing of guides, fact sheets, best practice papers to all the other members in the profession right across New South Wales. And with the changes in the strata law, we have to be right on top of it, and that's the sort of thing I really do relish. So I guess being an accountant, being an academic has its advantages because it just makes you stand out different from the others. But there's one other factor you mentioned in the intro, didn't you, that I'm flexible. Because I'm a sole trader, I can hold my meetings when my owners want them. So weekends, evenings, no problem. I've got a flexible family. Now they're all grown up, they're all teenagers, husband who's also very accommodating with that respect. And I go to a venue that suits them, on site usually, rather than expect my owners to come to a board room that I have and within a 9 to 5 business day conventional framework. So they're the two things that make me a little bit different from the others.
Strata schemes are very common in major cities, but their popularity is growing in regional areas. Where is this growth coming from?
For our areas, I guess generally demographics across the globe are changing because people are living longer. Baby boomers, for instance, are moving out of their quarter-acre, the 4-bedroom home, to apartments or villas. And also young professionals are seeking the more affordable unit abode as their first home. Buying that quarter-acre, 4-bedroom home is not as reachable as it is. You only have to watch Alan Kohler and, the finance reports on TV every day about the housing affordability or lack thereof. And in the country, we find that farmers are retiring off the land and they'll shift in town to a villa or a strata, in a strata or community complex. And in Wagga in particular, we have the transient population generated from Army and Air Force personnel, and we also have university students who may set up in off-campus accommodation in the city. Yeah, so I think that's where the growth's coming from.
When comparing the strata issues between larger urban areas and country and regional areas, what are the main differences you notice?
I'm not sure I can comment directly on the large city strata management because I haven't that experience. But I do have second-hand stories from city colleagues when I attend conferences. For instance, I hear them talk about shootings and muggings are more frequent than they would like to experience. You can imagine. And some have even had to take a bodyguard to a meeting if they held them on site in certain city suburbs. So that's quite frightening. Whereas rural leaving, we're not necessarily pristine or more righteous, but I've never had to face any aggressive owners, tenants, or unwanted visitors like that to a scheme. Most of our people are friendly, really don't have very many issues or complaints about neighbours. So I guess that country hospitality goes through into strata living, which thankfully for my role is makes my life easier. And the other thing, though, is the quirky side of things. That's the more serious, but the quirky side, as you mentioned before, the baby boomers who are going in, the farmers, the military, strata owners and dwellers, they create their own unique issues. You laugh when I say that I had to deny a lovely mature-aged woman from having her garden gnomes on display. Yeah, in the front garden of her new villa. She was so proud of them. But I said, sorry, Mrs. Jones, you must not put those sorts of items in our common property. So that was, going from her private home to theirs, she thought she could do the same. And similarly, owners with many artefacts, from their larger homes, where do they fit them all? And they think they can still, hang things on the outside walls, like bronze statues of horses or butterflies or, all those copper art type things that you see on walls. I have to tell them, no, you're breaching a bylaw there, because they don't realise that those walls they actually don't own. So they're, I think, unique probably to the country. Maybe not. I don't know what city dwellers are like with respect to those sorts of artefacts, but it makes me laugh.
You mentioned it a little bit with the anecdote of the lady and her gnomes, but what are some of the other issues you encounter with your clients?
Yes, it's not always just gnomes and metal butterflies that I've got to deal with. I guess the most serious issue that I have to deal with is lack of information that new buyers of strata get at the outset. Selling agents, you would have to say, are not always fully cognizant of the laws of strata ownership because that's not their domain. So that leaves owners to do their own research when it comes to buying into strata or community. What are they buying? They need to do their research. I usually offer pre-purchase strata reports to buyers. They could be buying in my scheme, for instance, and I'll do a report on my own, or I can do a report on another managed scheme. Go in, study the books for them, provide a comprehensive report of the financial situation so they don't get any surprises. And they also learn if there's going to be any major capital works coming up. Now, lawyers are usually pretty good. They will recommend to their clients to go and get a pre-purchase strata report. And that does help when they eventually come to buy because they've got that knowledge. But as you can imagine, there's only 30 minutes that a lawyer will allocate to their consultation. And if the owners haven't done their research and are really novice at it and raw to strata, they get very excited about the prospect of buying a property, all consumed with signing a contract. And they don't necessarily take in all the facts that they're hearing from the solicitor. And, they're getting to the point of sitting there, signing the contract, all that excitement really does take over. The other issue that I find, because I end up having to educate them after the fact, and that's a good thing from my point of view, I don't mind, but I really feel that they should have that knowledge before they buy in. The second issue that I guess makes it different from city strata managers, and it goes back to a question you asked before, I find strata owners in the country, in a small city like Wagga. I also go to Yass, Griffith, Young, Cootamundra, all those surrounding towns, Tumut. The owners actually expect a lot more from their strata manager than I think they would if they lived in the capital cities. We tend to be more accessible, I guess, in the country as professionals to all of our clients. And so owners might expect us to come and visit on site for really tiny matters like to view the weeds growing out of their guttering or pavers that are a bit crooked. So I do it as part of country hospitality and quality service, of course, but to charge the call-out fee that you would expect normally goes with that, I fear would result in a, tut-tut, oh, what's she up to? Why is she charging this sort of thing? So I'm not game enough to try it, whereas capital city managers wouldn't even think twice. They would step out, as soon as they step out of the door, there would be a significant call-out fee. So I believe that's an issue that us country strata managers need to learn perhaps from our city counterparts, but still keep to that friendly, homely country hospitality.
There's also confusion on what strata actually covers, isn't there?
Confusion, oh, absolutely. A lot of confusion, yeah. A lot of confusion. You'll see that a lot of strata owners just don't understand what they own, and they own airspace. They go, what? What's airspace? But these walls are my walls. I said, no, I'm sorry, they're not your walls. They don't realise that they can't hang things out on the walls. They can't climb up on the roof and start repairing the TV area or clean out their gutters. They pay levies to contribute towards the insurance of the entire buildings, repairs to those buildings and all the common grounds. So really, they should be sitting back and relaxing and let the strata manager take care of those responsibilities. That is my job. But they don't understand that, and I have to educate them a lot. I frequently see problems when it comes to community title schemes, and we have a lot of those here in the rural areas, even though community title really stemmed from gated communities, like you have in marinas and golf courses. Okay, so councils love to have those types of communities because they just shut the gate, they provide the rates up to that point, and from the gate behind, the individual community looks after everything, from the streets, cleaning the streets, gutters, lighting, the whole lot. It's a real community. Now, Wagga Wagga builders, they love community title schemes because they can get earlier cash flow than they would from a strata scheme, because they can generate sales off the plan. And if you sell one unit, you build a unit, you can sell it. Whereas strata builders have to wait until they've completed the entire scheme. Now, that might be 10, 12, 20, 30 units. And so they've put out a lot of capital before they can get their capital back. So that's another confusing area. I also see confusion with that form of title at not only the owner's level, but at the property managers, the renting agents. Yeah, because both the owners and the property managers in particular, they like to treat those community schemes as if it were strata, and they often refer to, my strata unit, or my strata villa. It's like, when you get a tissue, often people say, grab me a Kleenex, even though that's a brand. We get so accustomed to a term. And you think, all right, well, so what's the difference? What's wrong with calling your community unit a strata unit? But it's wrong. There's a big distinction. Do you know anything about them, Stuart, the difference between strata and community?
No, I don't. But would you care to go in a bit more detail for our listeners?
Yeah, if you want me to. If your listeners you think would be interested, yeah. Okay, well, when you buy into a community scheme, you're buying the bricks and mortar. Okay, so you actually own the entire building, roof, walls, doors, the whole lot, not that airspace concept that I talked about before. So when you're buying that building, obviously goes with that is the responsibility for all repairs and maintenance. So those property managers that are managing for their landlords in a community scheme, they ring me up and say, Michelle, can you clean out the gutters on Townhouse 7 of such and such a street? I said, I'm so sorry, Joni or Alison or whatever. That is a community scheme. Your landlord is responsible for that. So there's a lot of education that is needed for the public as well as those in the profession. There's not enough understanding of the difference. Yeah, but there's a long way to go.
Michele, that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for taking time to join us.
Yeah, that's okay. Strata is an exciting world, forever changing. It's filled with fascinating people, probably the broadest spectrum of people you'll get in society. You know, you have anyone who owns a property. They can range from you, me, the head of the university, the highest doctor in the land, and you have the cleaners and everyone else in between. Strata management, I just love it. So thank you for having me on the show. Thank you to Australian Business Executive.
This has been a production of the Australian Business Executive, a division of Romulus Rising Proprietary Limited. All rights reserved. You can stay up to date with the Australian Business Executive, including our magazines, podcasts and videos, by visiting www.theabe.com.au and clicking on subscribe.